You're listening to Terry Talks, where we discuss all things taboo, uncovering art industry nonsense, grounding you in confidence and leadership to run an arts business with unwavering power and grit. Hey, hello, what is up? Thanks for returning for some more Between the Two of Us, a spinoff of Terry Talks where I bring some amazing, insightful, dope guests here to share their intimate stories and experiences. These people are super open. They have literally joined this podcast in order to impact the lives of other artists, whether it's advice, whether it's their first experiences with a challenging situation that they had in the art industry. It's all to be as transparent and really avoid the gatekeeping. So if you've ever had a situation where you've received an email or a DM that you thought was like the dream opportunity, it sounded so fucking real. It felt so good to be chosen. It felt so great to be reached out to and to be seen, right? Whether it was a gallery owner or a curator or somebody who wanted to work with you closely. But it turned out to be a scam. And I've talked about this briefly. It's not something that's super highlighted in the art industry. It's definitely something we all look out for, and it happens more and more and more often. Unfortunately, those people are preying on emerging artists who are just in many ways desperate for these types of grand opportunities. What were those red flags? And really, how did you know, and up to what point did you know that this email was complete bullshit? Well, today's guest, Tracy Von Ahsen, is here to divulge a very personal and intimate story about an experience that she had with essentially a network of scammers that went on for quite a bit. This is a really, really strong story, especially because of what she took away from it and how she managed to turn it into something quite incredible and something that really thrust her forward. But that was a really painful experience, and really in efforts to help you all steer away from these types of things. So before we get started, there's been so much adulting happening. I'm sure if you're listening, you're like, fuck yes, like so much things, so many different moving parts going on in May. And I want to just announce a few really amazing upcoming things that have been in the works for quite a while, actually, things that maybe I've had imposter syndrome with for years, but I have been craving more of the Creators Power Hour atmosphere. I am an educator by trade. I am someone who loves the collaboration, the talk, the little like chit-chatting. I mean, I do it with strangers constantly. The wait list is officially open for the wait list for my brand new summer program, 6 weeks short, called the Artist Accelerator, is officially open. This is going to be a breakthrough summer for you before the holiday season hits. We are aiming to break through these barriers, whether it's business and strategic and social media and all the things sometimes we don't like doing that takes us away from studio time and mindset that are really setting us back from thrusting forward and taking the reins of our arts business, especially before, like I said, holiday season starts in September. Some people start thinking about that shit in August. So summer is really the ideal time to stack up the ammo, get clear on exactly what we're putting out there into the world. So get on the wait list. The wait list means that you get the lowest price. The wait list means you get first dibs on the 10 spots that are open. And the wait list also means that you get first dibs on a VIP upgrade. So the link will be in the notes at the bottom of the podcast episode. I can't wait to put this into action. It's something that I have been avoiding for quite a long time. There have been, times in my business where I really wanted to dive and pour into my one-on-one clients, and I still continue to do that. But there's something really powerful and just special about a group of really, really intellectual and deserving and deep thinkers. Having all of those people in a room and having that exchange, there's just nothing fucking like it. So let's get this episode started. a little bit about our fucking amazing guest, because I personally am a huge fan of her artwork. I met her at a gallery opening, and since then, we have actually managed to connect the dots on so many people that we both have in common, that we're friends with or that we've been friends with. She recently just met somebody from like who I was best friends with in middle school, which is just so crazy. So Tracy Von Ahsen is born and raised in Long Island. She's a current New York City-based resident artist who works in collage, presence, memory, self-reinvention. She earned a photography degree from FIT, and living in the iconic Chelsea Hotel, she transitioned from photography to analog collage, which is like my favorite type of art. One of my favorite types of arts. Cutting and layering and reimagining symbols of identity and femininity and spirituality. I mean, this speaks about her in volumes. Von Ahsen's work is shaped by personal transformation, her navigation through addiction, recovery, queer identity, and spiritual awakening. I mean, every time I talk to her, like, this is literally her, like, a perfect bio for her. Her studies with monks in India, ceremonies in Peru, Sacred Valley, and years immersed in New York City's downtown art scene form the undercurrent of her practice, fusing pop culture, vintage aesthetics, mystical storytelling. Her pieces really channel the surreal textures of the city life. And she continues to exhibit in New York City and beyond. She's been in many galleries. She's been in many group shows and continues recently. She was showing at a virtual gallery with Dandy. She continues to really create from her heart. And I can't wait to see what else she has in store for us. So without further ado, let's bring her on and dive into her really kind of wild, crazy, but also quite a magical experience with, I know that's kind of an ironic sentence, with being in this situation in the art industry that happens so often that is not often talked about. But I'm really thankful that she's being vulnerable and honest about just being able to share this publicly. It's not an easy topic, especially when it happens to you. So let's bring her on and let's get the conversation started. Thank you so much for joining between the two of us. I have to say, I'm always so not only honored, but appreciative to the people who come onto this podcast and are so open about their experiences, whether they're positive or negative or things that they just would love to forget. But I know that you're here to kind of tell us a story that is extremely relatable to many other artists. There is tons of content that I've even posted about scams and emails and, you know, people in my DMs who are posing as opportunities. And, you know, sometimes they're very, very believable, but it's something that also is targeted towards the emerging artist. And when we think about the emerging artist, we think a lot about like desperate for a certain kind of attention and the place where we want to be in our careers. And it's just like, oh my God, like you have just come from the heavens. So let's talk a little bit about you first and what you're working on, how your arts business is going, and just give people an idea as to what you do.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. And I actually felt pulled to share this story because of just what you said. So many people can relate. And if I can help just one other artist to avoid that pitfall, then I'm really happy to be doing it. So I'm an analog collage artist. I have a background in photography. I'm completely obsessed with the analog process of cutting and gluing paper together. It's a very spiritual process for me. So I really connect with my higher sacred self through collaging. And I actually feel like the medium of collage, though it's not always considered the same type of fine art as, let's say, painting or a drawing, the reason the medium really connects to me is because I feel like through my trauma, I've really taken the bits of my life and then repurposed them into something beautiful, which is what I did with this scam as well. So I love the medium for that reason. So I'm always so happy to share it with others.
And I'm a huge collage fan in general. Your work is absolutely incredible. And definitely, I mean, even when I look at your work, I think very like cinematic and I feel like old film type movements. So anyway, I'm going to be putting Tracy's info in the comments below, but definitely go check out her work. So let's just fucking jump in. You know, these experiences with people in the who are, I mean, 90% of these scam artists are not even directly in the art industry. They're in the business of taking advantage of people who, you know, are have a passion for what they're doing. I mean, of course there are scam artists in all industries, but this is really like preying upon people who want that like little bit of luck. You know, you think it's luck, you think it's this Keith Haring luck, or like
Yes.
I've been found. And I want you to share your experience and talk to us, like talk us through this situation that happened to you.
Yeah, so it's exactly right what you said. Like you watch those stories on Netflix or something and you think, "Oh my god, how could they have fallen for that?" Like ridiculous. I would know right away. But the truth is they are very good at what they're doing. And so I actually got contacted on Instagram, and that's number 1. It wasn't striking me as the most green flag already. But like you said, I'm really spiritual, I'm really connected to signs, and I really work with that energy quite a bit. So I thought, don't rule it out. He had me go through a series of an interview process, which was hours long. And what I didn't realize then, of course, hindsight always 2020, is that he was gathering information about my background, my trauma, my passions, even that I'm an educator and I've worked with children for the last 20 years. He said he had 5 children. So all of those kind of key factors that he was navigating to gain ammo to just look like the right opportunity for me.
He
He
was
told
trying
me,
to build that trust with you, like immediately. He wanted to like relate to you. He was like, we're good together. Like,
yes.
trust me, like this is going to be great. And how did he pose himself to you? Like, what was his job? How did he introduce himself? All that stuff.
Yeah, so he definitely keyed into the fact that I'm in the East Village. I love street art. That's something that is a big part of my practice as well. And so he had said he was an early collector of Banksy's works. So, of course, that already sounded crazy.
Okay.
But he didn't position himself as like having worked with him in the artistic sense, more that he had collected posters and been in the underground music scene, which is, of course, like my work is very
Yes.
cinematic. It's very
Yes.
connected to music. It's very this kind of thing. So he never claimed to be an art aficionado. He more claimed to be interested in the art, someone who wanted to mentor people, that he has people around him that are more well versed in that way, that he only works with a few artists, and that he really buys and sells at high level. So he just, kind of works with a few artists as a passion project. Even though it sounded outlandish, it did also kind of, because I looked him up, there wasn't much information online. They keep it very vague on purpose. I reached out to another big graffiti artist that I knew that would maybe be connected, and he looked into it. So I reached out to a number of people to just kind of see if they got any sort of red flags, and nobody could really find anything too great or too negative.
Right.
So I think that also is something for everyone to look out for. Really do some digging and just make sure, talk to anyone that you can. And people, if you're not a super sleuth, then talk to that one friend that is. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and part of the wonderment of feeling like this is my opportunity is that you don't tell everybody everything because you so want it to be true. You know what I mean? So I think you're bypassing some of the little things that you maybe wouldn't have because you want the opportunity.
What was the offer and what was his approach to telling you? And this happened mostly in the DMs, correct?
We were on the DMs for just a little bit. He immediately scheduled a Zoom interview with me. I
Okay,
talked
so
to
you
him
saw him.
for hours. Yes, and then he had me send all of my work. So when I tell you I have over 300 collages, and I refuse not to take the positive out of situations. So I had the ability to photograph and measure all of my collages. And I did send this man my work. And on Thanksgiving Day, he called me again over Zoom and said that he reviewed his work, worked with the team, and didn't know if it was the right time to put my work, out into the world. So all these factors, blah, 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 and decided that he would work with me just for the next year so we could see if it would be mute. So he really did. And, honestly, he really did keep it in a way where you kind of felt like, oh, wow, how great. This is moving at a pace I'm very comfortable comfortable with. Like, he's not asking much of me, and like, it's just a year, and I will have the ability to see how this goes. And not for nothing, the English accent definitely made him sound nice. Oh, Tracy, wonderful, because he said he was from London, and so that definitely made him seem more approachable. Maybe others wouldn't fall for that, but I did a little bit. He seemed just so kind hearted. But yeah, so that's kind of how he roped me in. And then he told me that we would do a number of shows from there. But of course, none of that came to fruition.
And let's talk money. What kind of request, like what were you giving him in return? Because it sounds like he's collecting this information, he's schmoozing, he's like making you feel like he's selecting, being selective in a way. Now, it sounds like he was more like an advisor than a collector or a gallery owner, right? And did he
Yeah.
have connections?
Well, he said that he was a gallery, but they didn't have like a brick and mortar space. So he did present himself as a gallery. But the truth is, monetary wise, he didn't ask me for much. Off the bat, he asked for like around $1,000 to start building me a foundation. And I didn't really know, honestly. And again, this is what I would tell other artists, like, don't feel the power dynamics too strongly as a female
Yes.
in the art world, or not wanting to ask questions you would normally ask in your normal life. Like,
Thank you for saying that. Thank
mm-hmm.
you for saying that, because there's always this power dynamic, even taking the female aspect out of it, behind this. And I hate to, like, little itty bitty artist who's like this grand person that has a space, that has walls, that has, the business savviness. Like, that feels definitely like an authoritative figure where you're like, okay, I have to like bow down to like what they're asking me to do, like, and quickly and in the most professional way. So the $1,000 you sent to him, how did you send that to him, and what and why? Like, what did he give you?
Yes. So absolutely right. And for me, I do have those codependent traumas. And even as it was coming up, I was kind of like, ooh, like, I could even feel that. I should dig deeper. This is, dynamics I'm used to. So it was through PayPal. And he said he was going to set up serial numbers for my work for collectors. So, I didn't really ask the right questions. I even asked, I'm telling you, like, big artists,
Yes.
a few artists that were like, I've never really needed that, just with a few projects. But then again, there is always that little part that's like, it's
Sure.
me, for sure. I was putting on my glasses like, I'm going to be famous. So it's my time, collage.
Hell
It's
yeah.
time. I'm a female disruptor. So I was in it to win it. So the thing that made me really go for it was through PayPal. And I really did feel safe through PayPal. And in the end, I did get my money back. And I've invested thousands of dollars on coaching courses, on anything, because I really am putting my all into what I do.
But you're right. Like, this is a non-negotiable, lifelong, it's not a passion project. Like, this is your livelihood. So to take it to that space is like, we have to take risks. So we can't just like question everything and then it bypasses us. And I think that there's this balance behind, letting things pass you by, then taking it by the horns. And, we need to check these things. But it sounds like you were trying to do this digging, and he was very smart in a way to just focus on you and not on these like external factors. So you pay him the $1,000, and he's saying he's going to do some work for you. He's going to put, kind of set up the work so that, it's like on the back end of things, correct?
Yeah, and he gave me deadlines and everything. Remember, 300 collages I had to put in a Google Doc with sizes, names of everything, links to the pictures. And I did all that like before I think the first week in January. So it was by Thanksgiving. And I literally did all of that work. So he was also smart to kind of make it seem so legit, to get that up and running the way that he did, and to kind of keep it fast paced in that way. I felt like was also another tactic. And, quite honestly, I thought I've invested more money in things for less.
Yeah.
And another thing that I want to point out is even when he decided to move forward with me, he said that I would have these 3 shows be put on consignment in some galleries. So I didn't have really anything in writing that was a pure contract. And I kept again delaying when I should have spoke up and said, I need, like, I need to sign something. And my mom, still being a mama bear, offered like, we'll help pay for a lawyer. And I did reach out to people I knew for art lawyers. People told
Yeah.
me they were expensive, but even that, like, I couldn't find one person to give me a real recommendation of somebody. I really did want to try to do those things. And I would just say, don't also get clouded. Do your due diligence if it seems like it is a big opportunity. I had planned to, and ultimately that's what broke the scam down, was that I did press forward with some good guidance of some other mentors to, take that step and ask in a realistic way. And we'll get to that with a bigger project he asked me to do. But he never was going to provide that, and when I showed up as a serious businesswoman, he then.
How did you, yeah. So how did this kind of, I guess, how did you figure out that this was a scam? Like,
Okay. So
tell me the
yeah,
secret.
it's actually.
You're on Oprah's couch right now. Spill it.
Yeah, exactly. So I was working in a program with other artists. So part of that program was to have a one-on-one. And this man had been coercing me to come to London on a trip.
Wow.
And he wanted me to work on a 16-foot piece with other artists, the 2 other artists. One of the artists was actually a scammer as well. So I was on Zooms with multiple people. I was on Zooms with fake galleries. Like, this was a big operation. It wasn't just him. So he has photos with this other artist, that kind of stuff. And then there was a new girl that he wanted to bring in as a new artist. So when I was in
it, or was she another artist being scammed?
So that's to be determined to this day. I think she's a real person, but I did everything I could to protect her as well. And I'll tell you about that. But basically, I don't work in large scale and I have anxiety issues like most of us artists with our trauma, So I had been really panicked about this. And so on my one-on-one, I talked to this mentor about doing bigger work. And then she had asked me, well, when you're going there, are you being paid? I'm taking time off work. And I said, well, I haven't discussed that yet. And then she was looking through some of the materials and she said, I just don't have a great feeling about this. And again, somebody in that world works in a professional manner, has a gallery, very important to stay tied to community. So I would say that's another key factor as well. And she just encouraged me, again, that power dynamic, reach out and say, what will be the pay for this? And when I did that, he was like, I was thinking of it more as an experiment, getting you artists together and working in a bigger, and listen, I'm all for growth, right? That was one of the things I actually missed was this mentorship he provided, but I am a real artist. So as soon as it came across my path, I was like, I think you underestimate my feeling of wanting to be accommodating and being open with being ignorant. And I will come and experiment, but I would never do something completely for free that I know will appreciate and value in some time. He said he wanted to film it for a documentary. Like, he really was going full on with like this story of what he was going to do with this, with me, with this work and growing this vision, all of which I thought sounded so cool, what I mean, obviously. So,
and to people who are listening, you did not go.
No, and that was the thing. I have so much anxiety that to actually have gotten me on a trip like that, it really would have had to been ironclad. And my wife was also not feeling so great about any of this, to be honest. And I wasn't about to feel like I'm going to go get sex trafficked without everything being buttoned up. So this other female artist, I did some searching and then I saw that he had another name in a video that he had on Instagram, which I don't even know if he knew was, when people tag you or something.
Totally. Yeah.
So then we looked up this name and he used the same last name. So he was on a scam show in London. He had done this multiple times. And so I reached out to this girl and we talked on FaceTime and I said, listen, I don't know if you're real or another part of this scam, but I can't in consciousness let another woman be put in harm's way. And she had said she ran into him on the train or something. And she does look like a real artist. But, to be honest, it all seemed very real with the elaborate ways that he went. You know, you want to trust women more, but you can't. You have to really be understanding of that this is really scary. And so when I went back to him and obviously I knew this was going to come out because I told this artist and I sent a cease and desist letter. And he was like pretty upset about that. But I said, well, you would know that I would support other women if you had bothered to look at my artwork because it's all female centric. It's all female centric. So it just kind of was ironic that in the end, it's like my whole persona, my whole reason for doing art to support this female voice, female empowerment, their view is like targeted. And in the end, I wanted to show up for another female artist,
Yeah, you're like, you're not going to seduce me and then someone else. Like, do you understand what you just walked into? And I'm glad that you started to show that like defensive nature because it was totally valid, clearly. And you had multiple people around you. And I like that you said, make sure that you're checking in with your community. Make sure that you're, doing your due diligence, crossing your T's, dotting your I's when it comes to these things, because it does happen in DM. I would say that most of the time for me, it used to happen in email. And this would be, hey, I looked through all of your work and I still get those emails. And I'm not a practicing artist.
Wow.
So if you looked at my Instagram, you would not see artwork unless you look down to 2015. So
Yeah.
I still get those. And I'm like, wow, it's really unfortunate that you're emailing people this way. And essentially asking for money, or you're trying to, pitch me for some kind of Instagram manager, content manager, or whatever it is. But it's like they almost always either don't use your name in their hello, or it's not personalized in any capacity. And you're like, wow, you didn't actually look at any of my work because you're not talking about any specifics in my work.
Right. I mean, he went as far as to put my work in a fake auction, told me a percentage went to help abused children, because again, I'm an educator. And when I figured this all out, I was like, I bet you don't even have any kids. And then I zoomed in his picture and I'm like, I think this is a Photoshop baby he was holding. Like he really knew like how much children even like to, and you have to think like, I mean, my wife really does think that a part of this was him believing so much in his scam because he didn't take a lot of money from me and he didn't keep asking for money. And part of it, she thinks with him is maybe he thought he would get this going because he put a lot of work into it. He talked to me for hours about my work. And that was one of the positives. And I truly, truly believe circumstances don't matter. Your state of being matters. And what you can gain out of something is, situations are neutral. It's what you gain from them. And I upscaled my work. I really looked at if I was going to show these people
For real. Yeah.
we were not ready. I was not ready. And the type of anxiety I was experiencing emotionally, I was not ready. The steps I've taken since then to photograph my work or just how I'm looking at it is all thanks to this scam. So I really refuse to have it had made this negative impact. I mourned the loss. I certainly did. But I know what that feeling's like. And the fact that I could even imagine that happening to me means that I'm capable of it because I believed it, and there were things that made me nervous. And his mentorship did push me. He had, and I mourned that too because he had some interesting things and it confused me. And then after that, I worked with other professionals with my statements and other things to just get back on track and find my voice. And I am a much stronger, more professional, more committed artist because of this scam, in spite of this scam. So I'm thankful. And I think that's what really drew me to especially connect with you, with how your voice is, because that's what I want people to take away.
I mean, you're not victimizing yourself at all. It is so fucking admirable. I mean, I would say like 5% of the people in this world would have the take that you're taking on this experience because yes, it could have potentially been a dangerous experience. And for people who are listening right now, when I think about these scams, and this clearly went it was a really in-depth operation, as you said, but also, for people who only get halfway or for people who, even start the talk and then kind of, like whatever. I mean, there are so many artists that are not contract oriented. I would say probably 90% of the artists that I've worked with did not have a contract, sometimes weren't offered one, and it's like, you think that it's just these casual kind of relationships and it's okay. And, or I'm working with a friend and it's like, no, from the get-go, if they're not accommodating with their XYZ and they're not dotting their I's and T's, then, then that alone is a red flag for people. I'm just thinking about artists who are listening to this. It's like, okay, well, talk is cheap, but talk is cheap with everything. So even in life, if you're like, oh, I don't trust my boyfriend, or, oh, I don't trust, this restaurant, whatever it is, like when you have that inkling of a feeling, dig. And it's really come down to the fact that they're preying on innocent people in the art industry who are just hungry to be seen. But I think it's incredible and really inspiring that you have not turned this story into kind of this like sappy ending. You actually leveled the fuck up and you were like, here's what I can share with people: contract, community, get your shit, to the right people. And then you sought out this beautiful ending, actually. I mean, it hasn't ended, right? Like you're just like, you're in process. And so tell us like what you're working on today. What projects you might have in the works? Where can we find your artwork? All this stuff.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Well, I am working on a lot of artwork right now, but I've been really focused on mixing my media a bit and being exploratory with how I'm printing my materials. So I'm starting to look at my collages as little templates and wanting to explore more. So I'm going to be taking some painting courses to explore, because I'm really into curtains and things, as you said, cinematic. So I thought if I could paint those curtains, that could be really interesting. And then, printing on canvases or silks. Because again, through this experience, I thought these are kind of leap off points for me. I want to tell a more in-depth story if I had this platform. And so those are some of the things I've been interested right now. I'm also kind of seeking out different ways to do my own deep studies and cinematic realms. I'm always looking to do that. I'm a very big fan of David Lynch and deepening my spiritual studies as well. So I'm always looking to do those things to pour back into my artwork. I've been very interested in the printing materials in particular. So I think that's really where I've been leaning in, and I want people to stay tuned for that for sure.
Yeah. Are you any shows coming up? Any involvement with anything? Where else can we find you?
Well, I'm on Artsy right now in a show called Queer Dispositions. So I was really excited about that. I just finished up Dandylands last month, which was another queer fun show here in Soho in the project pop-up space they have there with the Leslie Lohman Museum, that their project space, which was super cool. Just trying to stay close to the queer community too in these times, and I just hoping to do more. So for sure, looking out for those opportunities as they come up.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I know that it's not a fun topic to talk about, especially, you experience it firsthand, but also I think that there are probably a lot of artists who don't want to share this type of information or experience. They want to let it go. They want to, it happened, it's fine, whatever. But thank you for being vulnerable enough to share this with everyone. And I know that there are going to be some listeners who will walk away with some good lessons. So thank you. And I'll see you on the gram.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to connect.
Thanks for listening to another unfiltered episode of Terry Talks. I've also got some free resources on my website that'll help make your life a lot easier as an artist in business. You can also check out my services or apply to work together. Before you go, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and sign up for my newsletter for more art industry info.